She's been on.
Well, she's got to record. There you go.
Go right ahead.
All right, and with that, I'm going to call this meeting to order. Good afternoon, everybody. This is a meeting, a regular board meeting of the West Basin Water District. Today is February 27th, and it is 1:07 p.m. So with that, can we please take a roll call and determine a quorum? Mr. General Manager.
Absolutely, President Houston. So I'll start with Director Deere,
Here.
Director Alvarez,
Here.
Director Williams.
Here.
Director Gray,
Here.
and President Houston.
Here. Excellent. Before we go into the Pledge of Allegiance for 1 second, I want to say I do need to leave today between 4 and 4:30. So we're going to do our best to get everything accomplished today during that time. Or we will have a different person who'll be running this meeting. So that's one.
Hurry up.
We will do that. And that's the only announcement at this time. So with that, I would like to ask Michelle Green if she would be willing to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
So please place your right hand over your heart. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Michelle. We appreciate that. And Mr. General Manager, I see you wanted to make a comment.
Yeah, I do. I would like to make a comment and thank you for allowing Michelle Green to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance today. And it's really special because we know that Michelle Green has announced her retirement upcoming from West Basin, which will be effective on March 11th.
Cannot allow that.
We cannot allow that. Well, I'm sure there are others in the Green family who would care to disagree with you on that. And so with that, today will be our last board meeting where we'll have Michelle Green as a member of West Basin as an employee. But I want to, if I may, share a few thoughts about Michelle and comments. And so I'm just going to read through here because this is a very heartfelt moment and the sentiments that I have to share here, which are in congratulations to Michelle for her 12 years of service with West Basin Municipal Water District and more than 30 years of service overall as a human resources professional in the public sector. Michelle earned her Bachelor's of Science in Public Administration from the University of Southern California. And she has 9 years of public service with the city of Pasadena, as well as an additional 9 years of service with the County of Los Angeles. We've really greatly benefited from Michelle's expertise, her leadership, and I can personally attest to her sound judgment, overseeing a multitude of human resource functions, including employee relations, recruitment and retention, job analysis and classifications, benefits administration, workers' comp and safety, risk management, and employee development and training, as well as a variety of district functions and activities like our employee appreciation function that we do every year. Michelle has a sound working knowledge of the full range of human resources functions, which includes her most recently developing and implementing West Basin's first Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Committee. And so that's a committee comprised of various employees from the various departments here at West Basin who are working alongside Michelle as the committee chair to ensure that we develop and coordinate DEI strategies, objectives, policies, programs, and initiatives. I think I personally would like to acknowledge the great work that Michelle did in preparing for our DEIA workshop, which we held a few Fridays ago. And the success of that workshop was in large measure due to Michelle's hard work. Michelle is an active member in the professional community, and she successfully served as board secretary for 11 years and was recently elected to serve as president for the Southern California Public Labor Relations Council, which is a diverse management organization comprised of human resources and labor relations professionals from the municipal, county, and special district organizations. I'm confident to say that we all join the Green family in celebrating Michelle's many professional career accomplishments. Although we will certainly miss having Michelle with us in our organization, we will always consider her a member of the West Basin family. So congratulations to Michelle for her 30+ years of public service. And we wish her many years of enjoyment throughout a healthy and long retirement that is filled with love, joy, fun, and laughter.
This is out of turn, but can I say a few words?
Yes, you may, and I think the microphone picks her up well right there, right?
It should.
Yes.
I can walk down there. I need to test this boot out, so.
Oh, no, you can stay there.
Stay here?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, because we can hear you. Yeah, go ahead, Michelle. Thank
I don't
you.
want a workers' comp claim on my last.
You don't want that either.
So I wanted to take this time, thank you, President Houston and the members of the board, to thank you for my time here with you at West Basin. As Greg said, I've been with the district for about 12.5 years. And I've come from pretty large public agencies, you know, the county and city of Pasadena. And while they were great agencies, one of the things that I could say that I saw on my first day walking in here at West Basin is just the level of professionalism and the level of dedication that staff have to the work that they do here. No offense to those other agencies I worked at, they were much larger. So you, of course, would see a lot more disciplinary actions and union activity and things of that nature, which, you know, were fun, but not so fun. And I will say that in my tenure here at West Basin, that is not something that I've had to deal with, quite frankly, much at all. And so I just wanted to thank you all for my time here, and also primarily to thank staff. I hope that you all recognize how great a staff you have here at West Basin. I have dedicated a lot of my time here at West Basin, but when I say that you have a staff that is dedicated to the work that they do, you have a great staff. And staff has changed over the years, but what I see the people here do, how they do it, the level of professionalism that they put into their work as an HR professional, that is a true blessing. And so I just wanted to acknowledge the staff and to acknowledge the board and giving me an opportunity to present to you. I presented numerous items over the years. And so I just wanted to acknowledge you all and to acknowledge staff for the level of professionalism and the work that they do here and the dedication that they have to this agency.
Yeah, I just wanted to say very, very briefly, thank you. I know we all thank you for your efforts. You've done a great professional job over the years. But I want to thank you personally for the various health benefits you've aimed my way. You know, I had some problems recently, and you always have the right answers. Always know where to go, get the information. You've been great. So good luck and have a nice long retirement.
Mr. Chair.
I hear a
Hello?
voice, Director Gloria Gray. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. President. With mixed emotions, I congratulate Michelle on her retirement. And it's with mixed emotions that any of our dedicated, committed employees leave West Basin, because Michelle so eloquently talked about the dedication and the professionalism and commitment that our employees have at West Basin. But today, I just want to acknowledge that, you know, Michelle has been, you know, such a value to this organization. And I think that she has been the PR manager or director most of my term on the board. And she has always been professional, always professional. And I admire that about anyone who serve in public office or serve in any agency. And she's very thorough. She's very knowledgeable. I knew Michelle before she came there, I believe, because we both worked in Allen County for a while. But since she's been at West Basin, I've been very proud of her, and certainly I want to acknowledge her work as well as others, but especially her leadership on the diversity issue, which all of you know is very important to me and others on the board. And I will miss her intensely, and hope that she will continue to be a part of our family in some way, because she brings certainly tremendous value to the organization, and certainly when we talk about DNI, and that's very much a focal point of HR. And so congratulations, Michelle. Thank you for all the work you've done for these years. I admire you for everything that you've brought to West Basin and you as a person. So thank you very much and congratulations.
I don't know. I hate to see you leave. I really do. I mean, it's not often that we have an individual like you who's very knowledgeable, and you bring the other element here that's missing in the professional ranks. Like, well, I gotta say it. We're losing, this is a Black History Month, and we're losing a dedicated Black person who is all the things that we admire in our professionals, and we're losing one. And the likelihood of replacing you is going to be tough. It'd be tough anyway, you know, because you come with all the credentials, all of the things that we like to see in any professional. And I hate to see you leave. I'm sorry, but I do wish you the best in your new endeavors, whatever they are. But I hope you'll give back to your professional community and help develop more people like you, male or female, doesn't matter. But really, you've been a tremendous help to me, just getting through the benefits. I don't get many of them, but you know, it's wonderful. I mean, you've done such a great job, and I wish you the best in everything that you do. Thank you.
I just want to thank you. You've been very helpful to me, and you've been an exemplary mentor for people here at the district, and I think you've accomplished very much, as the general manager alluded to in his comments. So congratulations, and enjoy the rest of your life.
And I'll just also echo a lot of the comments already said. Michelle, congratulations on a very distinguished career, both at West Basin and other organizations. And of course, in my 8 years on the board, obviously a bank at that whole time. So we do thank you for your service and your guidance and a lot of the work behind the scenes. And of course, being able to touch all the staff. So I saw that email too, and I was caught a little by surprise. I'm like, oh my gosh, she's retiring. Wow, but we do wish you the best in your retirement. And thank you again for your service. And of course, you always have a place with the West Basin family. I know that. You don't live far away, I don't believe, right? But again, thank you so much, and we're gonna miss you. Let's see, let me go ahead. We're gonna move into public comment in a moment, but I want to jump ahead here for a moment. So I am going to, there's an item on the agenda on the action calendar that I'm going to table for next month. And that is item 8E, which is the Buy American Resolution and Policy. We're going to table that until next month. So without any objection, that's what I would like to do. All right.
Is that going to a committee first or what?
For now, it's just, let's put it to the next month's board meeting. With that, because I see there might be people with public comment and other things, so we will go ahead and do that, okay? And the other announcement is at some point, our closed session, we need to be in closed session by approximately 3 o'clock today because of
Special counsel.
special counsel situation. So with that, on some timeframes here. All right, so with that, we will now go into public comment because our presentations come after that. So let's go ahead into public comment if there's anybody in the public wishing to speak. Mr. Gentleman.
Okay, so we don't have any public comments here in the room, but looking into the online platform for anyone who would like to be recognized for public comment. And it appears there is a person here, Anne Marie Ote, who would like to make a public comment. And so Anne Marie, Ms. Ote, you will have 3 minutes to make your public remarks. And check your microphone real quick, just as a test.
Yes, can you hear me okay?
Yes, I can. Okay, so let's go ahead and set the timer. And so 3 minutes, and so you may begin.
Thank you very much. I'm Anne Marie Odie. I'm representing the Los Angeles Orange County's Building and Construction Trades Council. I do understand that item 8E was just pulled off the table, but that was what I and some of our other representatives were here to talk about in support. With it off the agenda item, we will wait, of course, until next month, but wanted to speak in the future when it is back on the table about our support and also praising our with the Water District. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Okay, and let's see if we have any other hands that are raised. I don't know if Anne Marie, if that's still your hand that is raised. Looks like it might be. I do not see other hands raised at this time. So I'm going to suffice it to say that we have no additional public comments, President Houston.
Great, thank you very much, Greg. All right, with that, we will move into presentations, and we have 2 of those today. Item 5A, Greg, is the recognition of Black History Month.
Yes, absolutely. And so we have a proclamation that we have collected the board signatures on. And so I'm pleased to have a chance to review that for the public here. So if I may. This is the West Basin Municipal Water District Proclamation of Black History Month, February 27th, 2023. Whereas Black History Month commemorates the achievements, contributions, and sacrifices of Black Americans and their indelible role in shaping United States history and culture. And whereas Black History Month preserves the memory of noted historian Carter G. Woodson, who, along with the now named Association for the Study of African American Life and History, founded the first Negro History Week in February 1926 to coincide with the birthdays of President Abraham Lincoln and Frederick Douglass, as well as concurrent emancipation celebrations. And whereas Black History Month acknowledges the influence of the Civil Rights Movement and the growing awareness of Black identity in the 1960s that resulted in President Gerald Ford officially designating February as Black History Month in 1976 and urging Americans to seize the opportunity to honor the too often neglected accomplishments of Black Americans in every area of endeavor throughout our history. And whereas Black History Month celebrates the year's theme of Black resistance, which explores the perseverance of Black Americans against discrimination, historic and ongoing oppression, and violence from the nation's earliest days through today. And whereas Black History promotes the importance of Black history in the continued pursuit of racial justice and equality, thereby encouraging organizations like West Basin to advance policies and initiatives that create opportunities for all people in our communities to thrive. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed on this, the 27th day of February 2023, that we, the directors of West Basin Municipal Water District, hereby observe Black History Month as an annual celebration and acknowledgement of Black American history to the fabric of American culture and West Basin's continued commitment to addressing disparities within its service area. And this is signed by our board president, our board, and our 4 board members. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg, for reading that. And okay, I think what we'll do is we'll do the photos together after both of them will pass. But are there any directors who'd like to make any comments at this moment regarding Black History Month?
I'd like to make.
Director Williams.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
I really appreciate Black History Month, but I'm saddened that the only time that we recognize the accomplishment of Black people is this 1 month. Okay, and after this is over with, it goes back to, I think, the theme of the water, the urban water conference theme was the beat goes on. Okay, meaning the same old nonsense. You know, you pretend to recognize Black History Month, but you really don't. Because it has to be more than a month. Because I started in this business, I gotta tell you this, back in the 60s, when I was the only Black draftsman where I worked, okay? And when I left, there was no replacement. So I think about when a Black person leaves the job, then there's no other black person comes behind. You know, I'm gonna be real quick with this because, but I have to say this because you won't hear this ever unless you get another Black director, I guess. But it's when I got into this business, I was told that I was taking a white man's job. Can you believe that? Well, this is a white man's job. Why are you doing this? And that was a draftsman. I mean, when I became a draftsman and went to work in the office, you know, before you go at Trade Tech to teach you how to behave yourself in the office, which is kind of nice because you know what the lay of the land is before you get there. First time ever having a professional job in the white American. But then that was at that level. Then at the public works director, city engineer job, it was a little higher up than a draftsman, you know. And the city engineer for the city of Los Angeles. Now, this was in the 60s. You saw I'm a little older than a lot of you.
1960s, right?
Yes. And I mean, the city engineer was like the highest position in the city. I mean, the city engineer was like, when you see the city engineer in the hallway or in the elevator, you look down. They were revered, so you have to do this. This guy was a person, like I said, revered by everyone. Looked at me and he said to me, well, I asked him why was he looking at me all the time, because he made me nervous, you know. And I said, how can I help you? He said, and this was in 1980. He said to me that I'd never seen a Black city engineer before. I mean, he was in disbelief, not welcome, you know, like some of my good friends did. Like his name, Desi remembers him. This was a guy. Now I'm so upset now I can't say his name. But he was one of the guys like Desi who reached out. Welcome, Desi. If you don't want me here, blame Desi because he was the one that got me involved in water. And went on, and then that was in the 80s. By the way, at that time, I was the only Black public works director, city engineer in the county of Los Angeles. How many cities do we have in the county of Los Angeles?
88.
It was 88 back then. I distilled that, I believe. How many do we have now? Not many more. I was fortunate enough to have people like Desi and, what was the other? Desi, he was in Downey for me. Irv Spindell.
Oh.
Irv Spindell. Spindell, and another guy who was the, one of the guys and principals in Wildan Associates. And was made up of Bill Stuckey
Bill Stuckey and Dan.
and Dan Heil. They were the ones who gave me the opportunity to be in the position where I am today, for allowing me to be a young engineer working for them, learning about how to be a city engineer, because they were contract cities. So that's why if you look at my resume, you see I have quite a few jobs as city engineer, public works director. But if you look behind me, nobody. Not because I did a poor job. It's because there was no Black engineers, public works directors coming behind me. So I'm saying this, each time we lose a professional, we don't have a replacement. It's easier for us to get elected to positions than to get appointed to professional positions. Why is that? I wish I could tell you now. But, and every time we have an event where there's honoring African Americans and we invite people to come out, other folks don't come out. Only one I know in this room right now who has come out. I'd say maybe 2 or 3. But they say they don't come out because they believe that a Black celebration is for Black people only. Now that's nonsense, and that's why we are where we are today, where there's not that many of us in professional roles. Definitely can't get elected. Easy, now I won't say easy, but it's more likely you can get elected to positions of leadership than you can get appointed to positions of leadership in a technical arena, because they don't think you have the ability. Okay, but let me stop, because I can go on and on about this. But I just asked the question that why, when West Basin has an event that honoring Black History Month, that only Black employees come out to the celebration. I mean, I'm sorry, but I've been here for a long time, and that's the way it is. And because when we give something, it's like, oh, that's only for Black people. It's not. You come out to see our event so you can see the things that we have done, the things that we do for the betterment of, not for the betterment of Black people, but it's the betterment of all of us. Okay. Say that to say the next time we have put on an event for African American History Month, and we invite and we say it's a meet and greet, we want you to come out and meet and greet us, because we want to meet and greet you. We do that anyway, because in the world, the working world, you find a lot of us there. By the way, the one we just had, meet and greet, that we sponsored, was no public works folks there or special district people there, but they had all of these aerospace people. I mean, I thought we were going to be taking off in a jet or something, but we have high-powered people. Everybody there was a doctor, a PhD in aerospace, something or another, history of jet fuel or something like that. But I was a little disappointed that I didn't see anyone there other than Greg and Gloria. I'm just saying this so that next year, if we choose to sponsor something for Engineers Week, that we have people come out. Now, I got to put two people on the spot here who always come out to support African-American stuff. Margaret, and she brings her husband with her. So he gets to enjoy this as well. And of course, Desi and Don, but Don is a teacher, so he's always out there. But I mean, I get carried away with this because this is my life, my history is engineering, and I had to come through. I didn't come through the academics. I came through as what we're trying to get more folks to do today is to get vocational degrees, especially in water and public works. I mean, that's where the jobs are. That's where they're going to be going forward. But everybody wants to be a PhD. You know, there are a lot of them out there, but I could never be one. But I had to take the vocational route. But it was very rewarding because I am public works director. I'll always be a public works director. And I got to say that city engineer, because it's not easy to get a PE. I think some of you know that. But let me stop, because I can go on forever and ever. But and I don't mind, but I know you do. So I'm going to quit now because Greg is looking at me funny. So I'm going to stop. Thank you.
Very good.
Sorry.
Thank you, Director Williams. Any other board member that would want to make a comment regarding Black History Month? Director Gray.
President Houston, Director Williams has said so much eloquently and personally. I'll try to be very brief. You know, I think it's always important to acknowledge Black History Month, and that's what we do, and other institutions do that every year. But Director Williams made a good point. It should be big. Well, for me, and I think for a lot of us, it really is an acknowledgement of not only the accomplishments of African Americans, but a reminder of the pain and suffering and injustice and discrimination, all the things that have happened to African Americans throughout history. And so I think Director Williams just basically told his part of the story, as I'm sure that a lot of African Americans have, all of us have stories. But I think it's always important to think about what can we do in the moment. I mean, we acknowledge Black history every year, but every single day, I think we can do something about all those things that happened to African Americans and in history. And so for me, as well as others, diversity is very important. Director Williams has talked about there's not very many African Americans in water, and he's absolutely right. You can count them on your hand. I think Director Williams is probably one of very few African American men on water board, and the same for me. So I think focusing on diversity, making sure that we have diversity in water, so that when we do make decisions, policy decisions about water that impact all people, that it does have that diversity issue. So for me, I think the legacy for us as African American is what we can do in the moment, at the moment that we're in positions to do things, and we have the knowledge and the capability of making a difference in society. So thank West Basin for acknowledging it, but I certainly agree with Director Williams that it should be an acknowledgement of diversity, equity, and inclusion for all folks, not just African Americans, but we're talking about Black history today, but I believe that it should be for everyone. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Director Gray. Anybody else like to say a few words? Director Alvarez.
I would just like to acknowledge Director Williams. I've known Harold for a long time, and he is absolutely right about just how few Black engineers have been in the profession, in the public works profession and in the water field. And you sometimes think that change is happening, and it appears that it is, and then you look around and you go, but it's not happening very fast. I could go to meetings 10 years ago and there were more black engineers that come out of our society than there are today.
Hmm.
And there weren't very many then. I think we can count them on one hand.
That's right.
And there are less than that today. So that is something that we should all think about. And sometimes you have to do things in very small steps. You can't just snap your fingers and correct an action as much as I like to, because I don't have any patience. But you have to sometimes just kind of keep pushing things along and recognizing small steps and small achievements so that a snowball effect can occur. Hopefully that won't be the case in 15, 20, or 30 years, but today we're sadly at a position where in our field of engineering, which is the environmental field, there are a very limited number of black engineers. And I was reading this morning, which was surprising, and what caught my eye was the headline of the story. In the water world in California, and this is all the water boards and special districts that have to do with water, such as the levee maintenance districts and so on. 86% of it is controlled by white men. So it's not just whites, but it's white males. The other 14%, then you get females, very small percentage of blacks. I think it was under 1% per that. So if you think about that and you think about the total number of just the water world in California, which is a large component of the California economy, that it is controlled by white men, and we are living in 2022, so it's the 21st century, and things don't look much different than they did 50 years ago.
I might comment, the century we're in now is 22nd, is, in my opinion, the century of the woman. They are making great strides in many different fields. And one of the dangers of that is that other groups, such as blacks and other minorities, are kind of left in the lurch. The opportunities aren't there because women are moving into it. That's all good things. I'm not against any of this. I'm for all this. And we certainly see the impact of females on many of our boards. And a very positive thing. Our staff, very positive. But we don't want to forget the other groups too, as Harold mentioned. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to say a few things too, because I really actually enjoyed the candidness of my colleagues and those who've seen so much change over the years. Although as I think actually what Director Alvarez said, it reminds me though, like so many things, that's like 2 steps forward and 1 step back, unfortunately. And so it's been a lot of work to get, the African-American community to where you're at today, let alone other groups as well. And yes, there's forces that try to tear that down, as we see literally happening around us in other states, especially, unfortunately, like Florida. Would never believe that, we would see the things happening we're seeing today. So for what it's worth, I do think we have to always do our best to honor and respect where we're at and take note of that, and yet realize that we have tremendous amount of work to do. And one thing I am proud about though is, even with this agency, is Juneteenth, of course, we make that an official holiday and our state recognizes that, when most of us just a handful of years ago did not even know what Juneteenth was, quite frankly, right? So I'm just really, really thankful to hear the great comments I've heard today from, so our staff and everyone, the board, we understand, and you all have been through a lot over the years. And one last thing too is I look at it as well. When I see the the other water districts and I go to water conferences and I see, you know, the lack of diversity, and that's really unfortunate. I'm glad that West Basin has a diverse workforce and a diverse board. And I was at a function last week and it was intentional too, that in water, you will rarely ever see a lot of other, you know, minorities, for what it's worth, who have a place at the table. And so anyways, it's very incumbent upon us, if we're in these positions, to help bring up others and make sure we're inclusive. And so, and on that note, I want to say thank you to our staff too, and where's Michelle Green and your team, because you all have helped us do that here and lead by that example. So with that, this actually is a great segue into our second proclamation,
Okay.
which is the recognition of National Engineers Month. So Greg, if you would be so kind as to let us know about that proclamation, please.
Absolutely. And I also would like to acknowledge that we have one additional public comment from Craig Cadwalader. So once we're done with maybe this proclamation, if it pleases the president, maybe we can allow for Craig to have a public comment. He had some technical difficulty. Okay, so National Engineers Week. All right, our board has a proclamation here, so let me read that. West Basin Municipal Water District Proclamation 2023 National Engineers Week, February 19 through February 25th, 2023. Whereas National Engineers Week was founded by the National Society of Professional Engineers in 1951. And whereas National Engineers Week is celebrated each year in conjunction with President George Washington's birthday, as he is generally considered to be the nation's first engineer. And whereas National Engineers Week is dedicated to ensuring a well-documented, diverse future engineering workforce by increasing understanding and interest in science, engineering, and technology careers. And whereas National Engineers Week is observed by a coalition of more than 70 engineering, education, and cultural societies, and more than 50 corporations and government agencies. And whereas National Engineers Week is focused on the theme, Creating the Future, which commemorates the vital role engineers play in innovating solutions to global challenges that impact future generations, and how engineers collaborate to create new possibilities that make the world a better place. And whereas National Engineers Week is recognized by West Basin Municipal Water District to spotlight the engineers of various specialties employed by the district and fulfilling critical jobs to ensure a reliable, economical, and accountable operation of the district to meet its mission. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed on these, the 19th through 25th days of February 2023, that we, the Board of Directors of West Basin Municipal Water District, hereby join those organizations in celebrating and acknowledging the contributions to quality of life that engineers provide and the promotion of the importance that technical careers and education have on the nation's future during National Engineers Week. Signed by our board president and the other four board members. Thank you.
Thank you, Greg. Thank you very much. And with that, I'll just open it again. If any of my colleagues want to say a few
Yeah.
words.
If I could,
Yes,
I'd like
Director
to,
Williams.
I would be remiss if I didn't say something about how President George Washington was, I've heard this said, I don't know if it's true, I haven't seen it in writing, but that since he was a military engineer, that was the beginning of the first civil engineers. So that's why George Washington, or why Engineers Week is celebrated in George Washington's birthday thing, because he was the first civil engineer.
Wow, I did not know that.
Anyone else? Well, with that, I'll just say as well, we just want to thank all of the engineers that worked at Basin. Of course, our meetings are at the end of the month, so that was actually last week, but at the same time, I think we always make a point to celebrate National Engineers Week and what that means to our local region and across the United States. Really glad that staff could work to put that together. And we do thank you all for your work, as well as the fact that we've just got to keep recruiting others to look at this field as an area of opportunity. So with that, thank you so much. Let's go ahead. We'll do a few photo opportunities, and then we can obviously move into our business. But I just want to say thank you to staff and thank you to my colleagues. And
What about Craig?
I was just gonna say, wait a minute. I thought that's right. Craig Cadwallader had a comment.
He did, and if we may, I just would like to acknowledge Cassandra Magdaleno Scott, who put these proclamations together. And so thank you, Cassandra, for your great work. And the DEI committee, under Michelle's leadership, also provided feedback on the Black History Month proclamation, as well as our engineers in the organization provided feedback on the Engineers Week proclamation. So thank you, everyone, for your involvement with both of these recognitions.
Thank you very, very much. So
Okay, so would you like to have Craig do a public comment right now?
go ahead.
Okay, all right, Craig, can you test your microphone?
Yes, can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, so we'll put 3 minutes on the timer, and please begin with your remarks.
Okay, thank you very much, and apologies to the board and staff. I had some technical problems logging on in a timely manner. But I did want to offer a couple of comments. One, I sincerely want to thank the West Basin Board and staff for supporting Surfriders Teach and Test program. 2 Sundays ago, we were honored by having President Scott Houston and Vice President Desi Alvarez and Assistant General Manager E.J. Caldwell come and visit us to present the ceremonial check that represents West Basin's support of our Teach and Test program, for which we are sincerely grateful. I believe it's been 17 years that West Basin has supported this program. And just to make everyone aware, the South Bay chapter's Teach and Test program, which is part of Surfriders' overall Blue Water Task Force program, is the only one that is primarily run by students. We have, I think it's a combination of 8 high school and middle schools participating in our program, and we on dates have sometimes more than 70 students participating in processing the samples we take at 23 locations up and down the coast. I am so happy that our program is as strong as it is. Our co-chair of the chapter, Mary Simon, has been instrumental in making this a hugely successful program. So we couldn't do this without West Basin's support. And we constantly speak about the virtues of West Basin. And what you've just finished doing on recognition of Black History Month and the engineers is an example of West Basin's leadership. Then finally, I'd like to suggest for item 8B, please continue with virtual meetings so the public can participate going forward in the meetings as has been done before. Overall, we very much appreciate the opportunity to interact, and thank you again for making the exception for my late comments. That's it.
Thank you, Mr. Cadwallader.
Excellent. Thank you very much, Craig, for your kind words. And it was an honor for Director Alvarez and I to be there to present that check and see the students. That was incredible. Thank you. All right. So with that, we'll go ahead and break for a few moments. We'll take some photos and then we can get moving on our business. And thank you, staff, for all your patience. All right, so with that, we will do our best to crank through this agenda. Next, we are on item 6, items too late to be agendized. I'm not aware of any. Okay, very good. Item 7 is our consent calendar. So unless there are any polls or anything we need to know about, I'd take a motion on that.
Move we adopt the consent calendar in its entirety.
I hear a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
We have a second. So any discussion? Hearing none, I'll go ahead and call for the vote. So go ahead, Mr. General Manager.
Okay, I'll start with Director Deere,
Yes.
Director Alvarez,
Yes.
Director Williams,
Yes.
Director Gray,
Yes.
and President Houston.
Yes. All right. Thank you.
Unanimous vote.
Perfect. Thank you. Next, we go into our action calendar. So item 8A, board and committee meeting agenda packets.
Okay, and we have our acting board secretary, Desiree Quintero, who will walk us through this action calendar item and provide the recommendation.
Okay, good afternoon. Our Board of Committee meeting agenda and packets item.
Can you speak up just a little bit?
Yeah. West Basin Municipal Water District has 4 standing committee meetings and a regular board meeting each month, as well as an annual standing committee. An agenda packet is generated for each meeting and is distributed electronically. Committee agenda packets are comprised of pertinent staff reports and their respective attachments. The board meeting packet is a compilation of the committee agenda packets, plus any additional items to be heard by the board. Staff also prepares hard copy agenda packets, which range in size, reaching up to over 500 pages for board and committee meetings for all 5 directors. Normally, these hard copy packets would be provided to each director at the in-person meeting. However, during the COVID-19 pandemic, hard copy agenda packets have been couriered to each director, incurring additional cost of $30 to $50 per packet per director. As the COVID-19 state of emergency will end on February 28th, 2023, staff recommends the following: that the board authorize return to the pre-pandemic protocol of no longer providing courier packets for board and committee meeting agendas to directors.
Thank you. That's it, right?
Yes.
And with that, and I don't know the answer on this, do we need like a motion on this or not, Steve? Because this seems more like it's just the board kind of gives some staff direction. It doesn't seem like it has to be that formal.
Yeah, it is on for your action calendar though, and an action and a direction by the board will give staff some security on how they want to distribute agendas moving forward.
Okay, I see that. Well, okay, right. The recommendation is that the board authorize return to the pre-pandemic protocol of no longer bring
I'll move the recommendation.
packets. I hear a motion to approve. Is there a second? Oh, Director Deere.
Okay.
He's way up, I'm dear. I know we look alike.
What was that?
He's the one who wanted to say something. Director Williams.
Yes.
I just asked the question.
Director Deere made a motion.
You made the motion.
Yeah.
To,
To the staff recommendation, it says that the board authorize return to the pre-pandemic protocol of no longer providing couriered packets for board and committee meeting agendas to directors. Although I don't remember that we ever made a motion in the first place to do couriers. It just sort of happened, unless I'm completely wrong. I don't think we ever really took a motion on this in the past, so it's like we're changing something that never really was discussed and action authorized.
Good deal to you? It isn't a and pass it.
It's not a big deal to me.
it's not
Is there-
hurting anything.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, there's a second. No, all I was doing is a clarification, because even when I read this the first time, like, oh, wait a minute, I don't remember we ever even
Yeah.
told staff to do this. They just did it over time. My opinion is, yeah, I don't need the couriers anymore to come to the house. I do like a hard copy at the office, of course, and you all post it and it's electronic, so that's all good. So is there any other discussion or thoughts from directors, including Director Gray? Any questions or thoughts?
Yeah, I do. What is the purpose
ahead.
in looking at, what is the purpose in making a decision about this? I think it should be left up to the General Manager, I mean, does that mean that nothing will be carried to our homes? I mean, what's the purpose of having this on the agenda?
I think it's a very valid question, Director Gray. So if General Manager could opine or staff.
Sure, absolutely. We wanted to clarify what the board's pleasure is going forward, given that our understanding is the meetings starting in March will all be in-person meetings, with the exception of those who may need to be virtual and posting their locations as per the Brown Act. And so with that, if it's expected that, you know, the board will be here in person, that we can resume that normalcy of having the board packages here ready for you when you arrive, and thereby saving some money and effort. There is quite a bit of effort by our board services organization to publish and package and put into the courier for delivery. And so we could save ourselves a little bit of effort in that regard and have it ready for you when you arrive here in the boardroom.
Yeah, thank you for the explanation. I'm trying to remember, before the pandemic, did we all receive the board packages hurried to us before? I thought we did. Perhaps we should just have that as an option. I agree with the general manager. It does require a lot of work on staff, and some, you know, obviously we have it in our emails, so maybe it could be an option. I just don't want to close the door. If there's a need for someone to receive the package, then one of our board members, and I think that should be an option. That person should have the, you know, the right to request the general manager to send it to her or he. So I think it should be that option, rather than saying that you should not do it. I think it should be an option for each board member. If they don't want to receive it, then obviously that would reduce the amount of work. So that's just my thoughts on it.
And withdraw my motion and put forward a new motion. I'll let Director Gray give a new motion on the matter.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll withdraw my
I'll
motion.
You can
second that
withdraw your
motion.
motion. And we'll let, hold on, Director Gray, hold on. So he's withdrawing his motion, which I guess you have to confirm.
So my second doesn't mean anything.
Right. So now we could entertain a new motion.
I just have a
Oh,
comment.
hold on, everybody. Let's let Director Alvarez have a comment, and I'll say a comment too. Director Alvarez, go ahead.
Okay, so where we were headed, my comment was that the agenda package would not be couriered, but would be available the day of the board meeting. I was going to suggest that making them available the day of the board meeting, I think, is a waste of paper. No one's going to read through 500 pages 5 minutes before the board. So either they're going to look at this on their computer because it's available and read it that way, or they would have had time to peruse the board package over the few days that they had it prior to the board meeting. But to print it out and have it here when you get here 5 minutes before the board meeting, or committee meeting, and expect that you have time to read that document is not very reasonable.
Well, they had 800 pages that they sent to us. I didn't read all of the 800.
I don't disagree, but at least you had more time than 5 minutes.
Okay.
So, I mean, I'm fine. I can read everything on the computer versus, the only advantage of receiving the hard copies is you can write margin notes and things like that. But I do have an issue with having it available just at the board meeting, because at that point, you either read it on your computer or read the document, the sections and items that you needed to read, and printing it out would be kind of wasteful.
Let me just put my comments in. So, and that's why, to be honest with you, when I saw this the first time, I didn't give it a whole lot of thought. The second time, that's why I see it was an action to authorize us to return to pre-pandemic, which again, I don't recall us ever authorizing it to go the other way. It just happened over time. So I just thought it's kind of odd that we're now trying to undo something that we never approved, number one. But number two, I actually really like what Director Gray said, in my personal opinion. It ought to be up to the board member, because some board members may want it delivered to their house early enough to see it. And some might want to read on the computer and then come down and you got it here. Because I like to read it up front on the computer, but then I can write my notes and take it home with me later. So for what it's worth, I think there ought to be latitude that if a director would like it, that there's that option rather than, because this to me was too, it's one way or the other. So with that, Director Deere, did you want to make a new motion? You were going to make a new motion.
Or you do it.
Oh, okay, Director Gray, would you like to make the motion? Director Deere, defers to you.
That the board packets every month, that each board member has the option of notifying or making the decision whether or not the board packages to be mailed out each month. That's the option of.
You mean Curry?
Curry, I'm sorry, Curry.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, that was, the motion was made and seconded by Director Deere. And did we get that clear, staff, with your director?
Oh, I'm seeing that the board authorized return of pre-pandemic protocol, no longer providing hurried packets for board and committee agendas to directors unless requested by the director.
Okay, that seems reasonable. And of course, you all will still print copies here if a board member wants a copy physically here at the office. Right? I mean, that's just standard course. And if the director doesn't want it, then they can let staff know and don't print that extra copy maybe, yeah? Any other discussion on this? Mr.
In an effort to reduce my carbon footprint, I don't need a printed copy.
Yeah. All right, well, with that, let's go ahead and take a vote. Go ahead.
Okay, we'll start with Director Deere,
Yes.
Director Alvarez,
Yes.
Director Williams,
Yes.
Director Gray,
Yes.
and President Houston.
Yes.
All right, unanimous vote.
Unanimously, and thank you, Director Gray, for that. Next, the recording and posting of board and committee meetings updates. Item 8B is before.
Okay, and so
What page are we on?
this is on package page 273.
Great.
So if I could just kind of read the summary here at the September 28th, 2020 board meeting. The board of directors voted unanimously to move forward with recording and posting the video of virtual meetings to the West Basin YouTube channel and the website. During the COVID state of emergency, West Basin has held virtual meetings through Teams and has posted the recordings via civic streaming.
And,
I'm sorry,
and we've been doing YouTube as well, right?
and YouTube. As the state of emergency will end on February 28th, 2023, staff request direction from the board regarding the recording, posting, virtual attendance, and public participation options for future in-person board and committee meetings. Allow me to read the recommendation here, that the board provide direction to the West Basin staff regarding the recording, posting, virtual attendance, and public participation options for future in-person board and committee meetings.
Great. Any discussion on this item? I personally think that the way this is working has been working well. I think we should continue to do it in this format. The way the public can participate online as they are. Plus these are being recorded and being posted. I think this has been a great benefit to the district. So I don't see a reason to change anything from the way we're currently doing it. But with that, but my colleagues, any thoughts on this? Albert.
Basically, what we're committing to is having hybrid meetings. The board will meet in person because of Brown Act requirements and legal requirements. And that the public will be able to participate virtually or in person if they choose to attend the meetings. And that all the meetings will be recorded.
Anything?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Director Gray.
Thank you. Just want to clarify, I think what we're saying, we're going back to the way we conducted our meetings before the pandemic, because we no longer have the ability to do hybrid meetings, correct?
We still have the ability to conduct hybrid meetings, but what we want to clarify is that it is the desire of the board to continue to do so.
Go
How
ahead.
do we have the
Trustee-
ability? How do we have the ability
Sorry.
to do hybrid meetings when the governor has declared that we're not in that particular position now?
Well, let
I'm a
me
little
step back
confused.
for a moment. Yeah, I'm confused because I think we're going in the wrong direction. We're not so much talking about the hybrid, well, to a degree, the hybrid ability, but it's really about the recordings and how we conduct these meetings. So Steve, if you
Can I
can.
address that? Yeah.
Yes.
As reported previously, the governor's withdrawal of the emergency order on, back in September, he withdrew the emergency order concerning COVID effective tomorrow, February 28th. That precondition of that emergency order being in existence that condition was a precondition to allowing us to have these meetings under Assembly Bill 361, which is the meetings where we can have the remote attendance. The use of the word hybrid is a little confusing, and I think what's intended here is that the board's going to continue to meet in person. But the hybrid nature of that is we're going to have the technology to allow perhaps members of the public and perhaps even consultants participate remotely. So in terms of the board itself, the ability to have the Assembly Bill 361 meetings is discontinued with the removal of the executive emergency order, absent the original Brown Act requirements of posting a notice where you're going to be remotely participating from, or the new Assembly Bill 2449 requirements, which we reviewed previously. So I think my understanding of President Houston is that moving forward, the board's desire is to meet as a board in public, but allow members of the public, consultants, et cetera, to participate through remote technology.
Basically, that's my understanding of what we just need to codify and address. And the other thing is that, what was it, back in, it's behind here on this, these backups. So back on September 28, 2020, the board unanimously decided that we would move forward to immediately begin recording and posting the video of our virtual meetings to the West Basin YouTube channel and provide a clear link from the district website to the YouTube channel, doing so in the most cost-effective way. So we've taken action in the past that's the policy of the agency, which I think we have done, and we've utilized different means. Now we are at Teams, which seems to be doing the job well. So I think one, that's where we were already at when it came to recording meetings and posting them. I certainly don't want to see that change. But the question for us today is, will we continue to allow the public to participate in this hybrid format, which I think we should. And so I think the real question here would be, we just need to pass something today that makes sure that that's
You memorialize that policy.
memorialized. There you go. There you go. So, and one of the things we had done at that same meeting was to look at cost-effective means to put in equipment in our boardroom, et cetera, but obviously it was pandemic. There's been a lot of things we've experienced that I think delayed some things, but this system's worked pretty well. So anyway, with that, I would entertain a motion to memorialize this so that our staff is clear on direction. If nobody else wants to, I'll make it. I'll go ahead and make a motion. So I will move that the district continues to record and post video of our meetings. It will be posted on the Civic Streaming and YouTube channels, right, that we have. And that we also allow hybrid participation from the public, staff, and consultants to our meetings.
Second the motion.
A motion and second. And does that codify everything the best.
Yes, and the board is going to meet, the board's intention is to meet physically unless an individual director wants to avail his or herself of Government Code Section 54953 or as amended by 2449.
Right, yeah, because that, we don't have any control of anyways. I mean, the governor's order ends tomorrow. So we have to follow the Brown Act and either be physically in person, or we have to be posting where we're located accordingly, right, Steve?
That's correct.
And that has its own set of rules, et cetera, et cetera. So, but for what it's worth, when you're able to have participation from our public as well as recording these meetings, it's covering our bases. So any other discussion? I didn't think it'd be so complicated, but hey, it is what it is. So with that, I'll go ahead and ask the general manager to do a roll call vote.
All right, Director Gear,
Yes.
Director Alvarez,
Yes.
Director Williams,
Yes.
Director Gray,
Yes.
and President Houston.
Yes. All right.
Unanimous.
Oh, thank you. Okay, next item is item 8C as in cap.
Okay, so this is the ratification of additional conference and travel expenditures for Division 4. And so if I may read the summary here. The West Basin Admin Code incorporates matters pertaining to administration, human resources, and other items. Staff refers to the Admin Code to ensure that the board-approved policies are being adhered to. Actual charges for conference and travel for the fiscal year indicate that Division 4 has exceeded the travel budget of $15,000 per division for the fiscal year by a nominal amount of $350.19. So per the admin code, section 2-1.306M, the board will need to ratify the additional expenditures for Division 4 in the same amount.
I move to do so.
I hear second motion, and there's a second. So Director Deere makes a motion, Director Williams seconded. Any discussion? Okay. Well, with that, I'll say thank you, and let's go ahead and call for the vote.
Okay, Director Deere,
Yes.
Director Alvarez,
No.
Director Williams,
Yes.
Director Gray,
Yes.
and President Houston.
Yes.
Division 4?
I'm the
No.
Division 4.
Who's Division 4?
Okay, this matter.
With
I
that,
would never go over the budget.
with that, thank you. I can't hear you. What?
Okay, my board secretary is asking where would that be paid out of? So we have the 4 other divisions that are underspent.
I'm way under because due to my health, I haven't been traveling. So there's a lot of money in my fund. Take it out of mine.
Okay, so we'll have that taken out of Division 5.
Thank you, Director Deere.
There's a lot of cost savings in that.
Oh, in the future though.
Yeah, I have a comment.
Okay, go ahead, Director Alvarez.
We already voted
And I
on
was gonna,
this.
yeah, the vote was 4-1.
And the vote was 4-1. But I do think that it is incumbent on all of us to keep in mind that we are given a budget and that we should, and the budget is quite generous. And that we should be mindful of the amount of travel expenses that we incur. And that not go over the budgeted amount. If we look across the spectrum in this particular case, most of the budget, travel budgets are well within the allotted amounts, with the exception of the ones for Division 4. And so I would like to just express to my fellow directors that they should be very conscious of how they spend the district and the taxpayers' money.
Maybe we should give them a one-way ticket and they stay where they go. Can't come back.
If your money runs out, at that point, that's where it runs out.
There you go. Yeah. Okay, great. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Director Alvarez.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Director Gray.
I just wanted to acknowledge Director Alvarez for reminding us of that, and thank you very much. That's very important. So thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, with that, we're gonna move to item number 8D as in dog.
Okay, and so we have our Executive Manager of Finance, Margaret Moja, here to talk, to present this audit item of our SWAP policy and to present the staff recommendation. And if I may, also share some exciting news.
So at the January 23rd board meeting, the board had a couple items of consideration as it relates to our swap. One was to consider the termination of the swap, and that was done so with a resolution approved by the board at that time. There was also a secondary discussion around the swap, and that had to do around the policy. We had a minor edit to the policy, and it was recommended by the board at that time that we would just delete the policy since we were going to be terminating the swap. However, in order to delete the policy appropriately, we need to do so by a resolution. And so we have worked with district council who has prepared the item. And I should state we are starting on page 290 of the board packet. Page 292 is the resolution as prepared by district council. And it states that under section 2, it says that part 4, chapter 1, article 5 of resolution number 1-16-1024 administrative code is hereby rescinded and deleted in its entirety. So just to let you know that that's what the action is. And so we are asking for the board approval today to delete the policy as done by resolution 02231190. I do want to comment that we did have a question at the F&A committee, Finance and Administration Committee, as to why the language as to form was not included in the policy. I believe that that has been forwarded to the directors, but for the benefit of the others that may not have seen that email, we did talk to district council on that and indicated that resolutions typically, because they're not a contract, if you will, between us and the other parties, where we do have that language stated, resolutions is just an act that's taken by the board. We are not required to have as to form on the things. If there's additional comment you need from that, I will have our district council speak to that. So with that, I'll read the staff report, and then I do want to provide an update on the swap termination. And so going to page 291 of the packet, it does state the recommendation is that the board of directors consider approving resolution number 02231190, a resolution of board of directors of West Basin Municipal Water District amending resolution number 01161024 administrative code regarding swap policy.
Thank you, Margaret. With that, are there any questions on this item?
I'll move approval of the recommendation.
Motion on the table. Is there a second?
Second.
A second. Any other questions or further discussion? And then we will go ahead and take a vote.
All right, Director Pierce,
Yes.
Director Alvarez,
Yes.
Director Williams,
Yes.
Director Gray. Director Gray. All
Yeah,
right, President
yeah.
Houston. President Houston.
Yes. And we caught you, Director Gray, so it's a 5-0 to approve that. So thank you, Margaret.
Yes, and so now if I may provide you an update as it relates to our swap termination. Just at noon today, we were able to connect with Citibank and to talk about the midpoint valuation as it relates to this, as well as the associated cost to terminate the swap with Citigroup. It was agreed to by our swap advisor, which is PFM Swap Advisor. And we were able to terminate today at a cost of $122,000. If you recall in the resolution back on January 23rd, 2023, we had a not to exceed of $250,000. So we came certainly well below it. As I understand from the market today, the market's starting to move. And so I think we got into the nice sweet spot to be able to consider that termination. So happy to report that we are no longer have any swaps here at the district, and the termination of the swap policy will also be such that we, on a quarterly basis where we've been providing you updates, it's no longer required. So then we'll never have to probably utter set swaps again here. So, so anyways, I just wanted to share that news with you.
Good news.
Thank you. Thank you very much. All right, we went ahead, we've already tabled the next item, so we're gonna move into information calendar.
Why do we table that?
There's been a request to table that, so we'll talk about it next month.
I guess it's tabled. Huh?
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. So one last thing to do today. Okay, so with that, item 9A, an oral report on the district headquarters relocation update. If there's anything.
Yes, and Margaret is going to help me with providing an update here. And I want to start by thanking the board for allowing me a little latitude for not being present in that particular workshop on Saturday. However, EJ Caldwell, our assistant general manager, was able to host the board workshop with you. And I understand there were specific action items that were required as a result. And so Margaret's going to talk with you about one component of those directives, and then I'll come in after her and talk about the second component of those directives. So Margaret, regarding the real estate services.
Absolutely. Just wanted to provide you an update and make sure that understanding is correct. We are to reach out to a number of commercial brokerage firms to be able to identify spaces within our service area that we would either purchase or lease. We have identified 4 firms. So if there are additional firms that you would like us to consider, please make us aware of it, and we will be happy to do that to provide that market research for you. Those 4 firms' names are CBRE, DAUM, DAUM Commercial Real Estate, Jones Lang LaSalle, and NAI Capital Commercial. So we have been able to speak to 3 of those 4 firms just to get a general understanding of how their services work as it relates to a purchase or a lease, as well as to start to the conversation around what are the available options there. So we are starting to gather some of that information there of square foot size between 10 and 20,000 square feet. And that we are looking to see, again, what are the options from a purchase or a lease perspective to be able to provide you that report by the date, I understand, of March 17th, 2023. With that, I'll just take a pause there to see if you have any questions. I want to make sure that I'm understanding your direction clearly so that we can provide you the information you're looking for.
Thank you. Director Alvarez, comment.
Wait, you mentioned CBRE and I did not catch there's 2 others.
Sure. The names are CBRE is the first one. DAUM, DAUM, Commercial Real Estate. Jones Lang LaSalle, or JLL, you might hear it for short. And NAI Capital Commercial. So those are the ones we understand are active within our service area. But again, if you are aware of any other additional commercial real estate or brokerage firms, we would certainly want to hear from you so we can capture the space that's there. Certainly they're aware of what's in there. We understand there's a handful of office buildings that sort of meet those requirements. And I know we certainly talked about central area, but we thought because there's only a few, we'll share what we were able to find within our space. And we'll continue to work with those firms certainly between now and the time that the report is due.
Okay, that was to look for space. And we also talked about the sale of this building and to talk to a commercial broker for the sale of the building.
Well, what we talked about first was this action in the next month. And then potential sale of this building would come after we got that information back. That's what we did discuss at that meeting. I see EJ confirmed, but yes, we specifically said, let's give staff a month to make some phone calls to brokers in the area, find out what's available, and then we'll come back and talk about options after that. And that's accurate. So we put the hold on next steps with this building for at least a month. That accurate?
That is correct.
Yeah. Other questions? Okay.
So like I said, I just want to make sure my understanding is correct. So thank you for that clarification. We will continue to do our work as it relates to the real estate purchase or lease of a new location. With that, I'll turn it back to Greg to give an update on the other portion of the writ ask.
Okay, and so the other portion I understand is the work that was conducted by IDS, the architect, and the additional work that was requested during the workshop was for the architect to do some additional touch-up and maybe some cost estimation on the option 3 that was presented in the Saturday workshop. And so we are expecting to receive a proposal from IDS to do that work. Once we have that, then we'll be able to authorize them to begin. The authorization mechanism at this time is within the GM authority under 50,000 total for all the efforts that have been done at the board's pleasure. And I've been exercising a exemption or an exception to the competitive bid process for procurements that exceed $10,000 because I recognize the board has asked specifically for a concept layout to be done. And so, of course, that has been completed to attend this particular workshop. So, of course, that's been done. And now we're adding this third task at the board's pleasure to do some additional work. And I anticipate that that will stay below the $50,000 threshold. And I'm continuing to waive the competitive bid for that. Now, the expectation for this touch-up work to be returned to the board by March 17th. I anticipate that we may not be able to provide it by the 17th because we have to authorize the work once we have that. IDS is also looking at their resources and availability. And so they have to see where they can fit this in among the other work that they have. And so once we have a proposal, then we'll be able to see what the schedule is. And I'll be able to tell you what the ETA will be once I have that proposal in my hand. So with that, if there's any other facet of the work that I didn't talk about that you're interested in, I have Barkev Mazurli in here who can help me with responding to any additional questions you may have.
Any other questions? Anything, Director Gray? I don't have any questions. I really hope we could. I was hoping we could have something by the 17th or thereabouts, because that's what we talked about at that meeting the other day, which it's already been, I think, over a week since that meeting. So, you know, I don't know how long it's going to take for getting this next step established, Greg, let alone coming back to the board. Sounds like the dates are slipping, so it is what it is. But I would ask that the staff would expedite this as quick as possible based on what was discussed at that last meeting. And I didn't, go ahead, Director Alvarez.
At that meeting, I think the architect got very explicit direction from the board. And he did not indicate that it was going to take very much time to do what was requested. And the request was not very extensive. It was very focused. And I would like to, I guess, echo President Houston's comment that it really is kind of frustrating to hear that it's not going to be done by March 17th. There is very little excuse for not doing it. We can come back with, or the schedule, etc. It should have been authorized immediately, in my opinion, because I think, again, we were very explicit. This is what we need. The architect was there. The architect, I know, understood exactly what we were asking him to do. And so, more than frustrating that it's not going to be done by the 17th.
Just for the record, I'm not frustrated at all. Take your time.
Yes,
Thank you, Director. Anything else? I think that's all we can say. But I think it was pretty clear at the meeting what we were asking to get accomplished. It should have been executed last week. And just, you know, the date keeps slipping. So you all will keep us informed offline of next steps, and then we'll decide what we have to do from there. But we need to be kept abreast of what's going on as we approach that 17th mark, please. With that, let's move to the next item. Number 9 is in boy, our fiscal year 2023-24 budget process and schedule.
Okay, and Margaret, please.
Yes, so we did provide an update at the Finance and Administration Committee just a couple weeks ago regarding the budget process for the fiscal year 2023 and 2024. I know we've discussed it a number of times. I believe we're getting to the final confirmation of our dates that are here. So I wanted just to provide to you that we are planning to still have a few workshops with you to be able to review, first of all, the overall summary and then the underlying assumptions relating to it. So if I can ask us to go to the bottom of page. My apologies, my screen is not loading. I don't have it in front of me. Thank you. On page, I can't see the date, 344 of your packet. March 15th is our scheduled first workshop. And on that workshop, we do intend to provide a general overview of the fiscal year 22-23 compared to the fiscal year 23-24 based off of what staff assumes as being sort of our assumptions relating to cost, sales, and rates. From that information, we will provide you sort of the overall sort of sense that so that you have a general sense of what it is. Following to the next page, on page 345, we would then go to a workshop on April 12th. And the dates that we have here were the previously confirmed dates with you. So we were trying to utilize those dates going forward. So on April 12th is where we intend to go into a little bit more under the underlying assumptions. Why did we pick those water sales? What is it that we're trying to accomplish with our program expenditures? Share with you on the capital expenditures and so on. This allows us to go through that conversation. There was a discussion at the F&A committee that there could have been a conflict with the E&O, but committee of the Engineering Operations Committee in April. But it's my understanding that the chair has agreed to move that to an alternate date. And so therefore we will keep our date on April 12th to go through workshop number 2. Following that, on May 3rd, we would have then what we identify as our last one, but it certainly does not need to be if the board needs more time to review our budget. And so this is where we would go through any additional comments that we received on either the first 2 workshops. And in those first 2 workshops, we can then provide any additional details and get you in a place where you feel comfortable with the budget assumptions that are there. We did talk about a couple of things at the Finance and Administration Committee. One of them had to do around the customer agency workshop. So we have looked around the dates that are there and as far as the availability of staff that would be making that presentation. And so we are looking towards a May 2nd date. That is a Tuesday, possibly in the morning. We will get to confirm the time. We understand West Basin Water Association sort of on that same day, so we certainly will work within that schedule there. But the idea is that we would then give our opportunities for our customers there, and certainly that is helpful as we go into that 3rd workshop on May 3rd to be able to say what feedback, if any, did we get from our customers. The other thing we talked about at the committee was about the outreach. I know that has been a very much of an interest to our board here, and so once we are in a place where we feel comfortable about getting the information out there, we will be sending a letter to our customers or maybe an email that indicates these are the confirmed dates so that they are aware of what those dates are. We also worked with our Public Information and Education Committee to talk about sort of the other sort of outreach that we would do in regard to this. So a couple of things we talked about here is one, we have a tile banner that would be on the homepage that would then direct us over to the finance section where we have a dedicated page on budget. Similar to last year, we would post the 3 dates as well as the customer agency dates on there. And as those presentations are made available, and then as the recording is made available, we would then link it to that page there so anybody would have access to that. We would also provide information through social media. So as these dates are approaching, we would make sure that that gets posted through social media so that people are able to connect with that there. So if it's not to our direct customers, but are to our end constituents, they have an opportunity to see that there. We talked about also using eBlast there. So we have a constant contact of our names of our individuals that that are, get messages from us. We would use that information to get out to the general public as well. We don't have a newsletter that is slated at that time, so we would certainly want to use that eBlast as that an opportunity that's there. There's also the opportunity through the South Bay COG where we would get to the elected individuals as well, so that we can make them aware of the process. And there's some newsletters that go out and we can share that information there. And finally, there was also a comment made by the board regarding the outreach to our cities and not just specifically to our water customers or retailers. So certainly we would work with our water policy team to make sure we've got the right people there. Also share a similar message there to invite them to participate. And then lastly is we did already speak about on a previous discussion regarding the budget, the West Basin Water Association. While we won't necessarily give a presentation at the West Basin Water Association, we will certainly highlight at the upcoming meetings to let them know the process that's there. And then like we have done in the past with our customer agency workshop, we will make a specific outreach to our 9 customers, our refinery customers, to make sure that they're aware of it so that we can talk about the, again, the budget at a high level, which would go into some details as it relates to some assumptions as well as the water rates. With that, I believe that was all the discussion items that we had at the Finance and Administration Committee. And that's my follow-up to you. But if there's any additional input, we're happy to hear that, to incorporate that into not only to the budget process, but also into the outreach for the budget.
Question here.
Yes, who has a question? Oh, our general manager has a question?
And is it accurate to say that once we have that third workshop, we would then be bringing forward the finalized budget documents into the FNA that same month of May, assuming that the board is good and that third workshop?
Yes, so again, we have, the May, well, let me state first that, I sort of work backwards, which is where is the intended board meeting, and then work backwards from that. So if we intend to bring it in May, yes, we would bring it to the May Finance and Administration Committee meeting. If it needs some additional time and we want to bring it in June, we certainly have that ability to do so because we've given ourselves a little lead time, if you will, should we need that additional time for additional input, insight that the board is asking.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Is the West Basin Association having only virtual meetings or what are they doing?
I'll defer to EJ about West Basin Water Association.
They are actually meeting in person every other month. And so in between those, they'll have a virtual hybrid meeting.
Do you know which is which?
Staff can let you know.
Please do. Thank you.
I believe the next meeting is on March 1st, Wednesday. They're having it at the Water Replenishment District Recycle Water Facility in Pico Rivera.
Correct.
So this March will be an in-person meeting.
West Basin Water Association is going to go all the way to Pico Rivera to have their meeting.
So they can.
There's going to be a presentation by WRD and
Correct. It's going to coincide with the workshop on the groundwater management. And so I think you'll see several people from the Central Basin Water Association there as well.
It's a good reason.
Very good. All right, let's stay to the topic at hand. So look, at the end of the day, we have 3 workshops scheduled. I think the first workshop is the one with the driver. And if we need to look at anything after that, if anybody has changes or thoughts or opinions, we can do that. But I just want to say thank you to staff for getting us to this point. I'm good with these calendar dates for the time being, and I would just like to get moving. So any other questions on this one?
No, thank you.
Good, because
I can tell.
it is what it is. It's pretty rudimentary at that point. All right, so thank you, Margaret.
And we will get the correspondence out to our customers shortly so that they are aware of those dates and so they can get them scheduled as well.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, so we have one more information item, so we need to be as brief as possible. Elected officials forum, is there anything that we need to know coming out of the committee meeting from the other day? Mr. General Manager.
Why don't we invite the members of Congress also?
As a matter of fact, my intent or our intent, I think, should be to invite them, of course, and if they're in the district, then they can show up, they're invited. Worst case, if a key staff
Right.
in their organization can be there, yes, yes. That's the goal, yes, Director Deere. Okay, are there any updates on this that we need to know about right now?
President Houston, the only thing that, the only reason this was added was because it was the direction of the committee to bring this back to the full board for discussion. I think you touched on one of the key issues, and if I could, I'll be very brief. We ran through several key aspects of the event. The date of the event, we're still looking at that, but you had asked for May or possibly early June. We discussed it would be on a Friday. It would not be on a holiday weekend. The location was agreed to as the Edward C. Little Water Recycling Facility. The content we discussed, including a tour possibly before and after to accommodate all of those that are in attendance. The audience was perhaps the most touched on discussion item. At the committee, it was discussed that it would be local elected officials, including city council members, treasurers, and city clerks that are elected. It was also discussed that the county board of supervisors and their staffs would all. If you wanted to include the assembly and the Senate and congressional members, we can send those invitations as well.
I think we also included the school board, I think.
Yeah, school boards, we could certainly send to school boards as well, so that just, you know, the more the merrier, that they know that there's going to be this, just an event and opportunity for a briefing and a tour of the facility, because obviously we work with all the school districts in our region too, and a lot of those are elected positions, and they are, a lot of them are new, quite frankly. And we had the pandemic where a lot of folks, you know, they were elected in a pandemic. They barely got to even be in their physical space, and now they are. So a lot of them are still learning their roles. So at the end of the day, I think that we just need to find the date that works with our staff and what you all are trying to put together based on the feedback that was already given, and if anything else comes in. And of course, you got to reserve the plant for that day, you know. I just think that you have quite a bit to go on by next month. You probably will have something more solidified to bring to the Water Policy and Ledge. And it is my intent or goal that, yeah, this is not exclusive by any stretch. This is inclusive to the cities we serve. And yes, you know, the county supervisors' offices, the assembly members, the legislatures, and the Congress people, and even our senators, right? Just, you know, because more than likely, if anything, maybe a staffer can show up who's responsible for water or environmental issues. So there, yeah. So, other thoughts on this, colleagues? Okay, sorry. I always want to give staff direction and keep it moving. Okay, thank you so much. All right, let's move on. Item 10 is our receive and file. If there's any poll specific, I would entertain a motion.
Move it.
Moved by Deere, seconded by Alvarez. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, we will call for the votes.
All right, Director Deere,
Yes.
Director Alvarez. Yes. Director Williams,
Yes.
Director Gray,
Yes.
President Houston.
Yes.
All right, 5-0 vote.
Yeah, I'm moving quickly so we can get into closed session. So with that, we can do these quickly. I believe the general manager's activities report. Anything you'd like to highlight, Greg, briefly, or?
Well, I think the main item I'd like to highlight has already been highlighted, which is the retirement of my dear friend and colleague, Michelle Green. Other than that, I have several items that are being highlighted in the report. If there's anything that the directors would like for me to elaborate on, I'm happy to do so.
Great, thank you.
And I will just acknowledge that it was really great having the opportunity to be at the meet and greet that Director Williams spoke about earlier with the LA Council of Black Professional Engineers. Room full of about 50 attendees, celebrating Engineers Week, celebrating Black History Month, and the 50-plus year organization that the LA Council is.
Thank you. Any questions for General Manager?
Yeah, and I do have one other item that I wanted to ask the board about, which is for the month of March, our board meeting normally would be moved from the Cesar Chavez Monday to the very next day per our admin code. However, it was raised to my attention that that particular Tuesday, March 28th, we have the MWD Executive Committee on that same day. And so just want to confirm whether the board would like to proceed with meeting on the 28th, whether it overlaps with the executive committee, or would the board like to reschedule our meeting so as to not have a conflict?
Question, Director Alvarez.
Well, I was going to speak to that under director's comments, but I would appreciate moving that date because of the conflict with the MWD Executive Committee meeting.
So, yeah, Director Alvarez would like us to consider moving it. I would assume we would just move it to that next day, the 29th at 1 o'clock. Which, okay with that, but,
Is that a Wednesday?
That is a Wednesday.
it's a
Is
Wednesday.
it Wednesday?
Director Gray, do you have any comments?
I agree with Director Alvarez. At least two members would not be able to participate in the board meeting, so it makes sense to move it. So thank you.
Make a motion to move it.
Yeah, do we need to make a,
Find a place.
I think we can just provide direction.
Yeah, the,
It got moved without us doing anything in the past, so.
That's for the admin code. Right?
yeah, the admin code says it's Tuesday, so I'd recommend that you give staff direction in the form of a motion to notice the next meeting. It'll be a special meeting because it's not regular for the, the, whatever, the fourth Monday or the admin code bump. So it'll be a special meeting. 29.
That the board meeting, West Basin Municipal Water District Board meeting of March be scheduled as a special meeting for Wednesday, March 29th at 1 p.m.
Yeah.
yeah, there we go. So we have a motion and a second to move it to the March 29th at 1 o'clock PM, special board meeting. And we have done these things before we needed to, so any other questions? Hearing none, let's go ahead and call for the vote.
All right, Director Deere,
Yes.
Director Alvarez,
Yes.
Director Williams,
Yes.
Director Gray,
Yes.
and President Houston.
Yes. Okay, thank you. All right, let's, general counsel's report.
We do have a closed session as described in action items or closed session items 14, A, B, and C. That concludes my.
We'll be moving to that shortly. AV 1234 reporting compliance. Does anybody have anything they need to report or you're writing to our staff?
I'll put it in writing. Thank you.
Anybody? I usually just report out verbally. So February 3rd through the 5th, I was at the ICA conference in Santa Barbara, where I saw a number of our local elected officials and other folks. It was an excellent conference, and so glad to be able to participate in that. And Director Gray, do you have anything?
Oh, just one comment. I wanted to acknowledge my attendance at the National Black Engineering Society event last week that Director Williams already mentioned. It was a very enlightening event. I was very pleased to be there, and I agree with all the comments that Director Williams said about it earlier. So thank you.
Great, thank you. All right. Yes, Director here.
The 1, 2, 3, 4 reporting, I'll just report that I've turned in my timesheet, which includes a total of 10 meetings this month, which is more than it's been recently, so I kept busy. They're all legitimate, regularly scheduled meetings.
They're all legitimate. Okay.
Pretty much the committees are anyway, more or less.
You didn't attend any ghost meetings?
Virtual meetings.
Okay, all right, thank you very much. So with that, we're going to go ahead and move into closed session. We do have a quorum, so I guess you're already recording, correct? So why don't we go ahead? Go ahead. Okay, we are back from closed session and if our legal counsel could report out, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The board met in closed session pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.9 to discuss 2 items of potential litigation. Instruction was given to staff. No formal action was taken. The board also met pursuant to Government Code Section 54957. No formal action was taken on that matter. The board also lastly met in conference with real property negotiators pursuant to Government Code Section 54956.8. No formal action was taken on that matter. Instruction was given to staff. That concludes my closed session report.
Great, thank you. I think we're good. All right, so with that, any director comments or future agenda items? None from Director Deere.
No, thank you.
None from Director Williams. Director Alvarez. None from Director Alvarez. Director Gray is not with us at this moment, so I have nothing to add. Thank you to staff for everything, let alone the great proclamations, acknowledgements earlier today. It's been a busy February and looking forward to next month. And with that, before we adjourn it, I'll just note our next scheduled meeting. We have adjusted that, so it will be a special board meeting held on March 29th at 1 o'clock. With that, we are adjourned.
Thank you.
Thank you.